Members, the House is considering the committee stage of the Education Freedom of Association Amendment Bill. We are debating Clause 2. Ian Lees-Galloway has the call. He's just over 4 minutes remaining.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Ian Lees-Galloway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I was saying before the dinner break, the amendment which has been put up by Grant Robertson is to amend Clause 2 by omitting the words 1 January 2012 and substituting the words 1 January 2013. That is to delay commencement of this bill by 1 year. And clearly this clause does actually need to be amended. I think that goes without saying, because the Select Committee recognised that the original wording of the bill, which was 1 year after the date on which it receives royal assent, not only posed some difficulties for student associations and universities and polytechnics and PTEs, in that could mean the change would come in midway through a semester potentially, and all the difficulties that would bring with it, but also the Select Committee recognised that student associations and their tertiary institutes would need a significant period of time in which to make the adjustments to start working on the service agreements that many of the student associations are working on with their universities and polytechnics, to actually make the adjustment to this new regime of voluntary student membership. And the Select Committee recognised that and wanted to make the period of time longer. Well, with the passage of time that this and the period of time that is taken for this bill to progress through the House, we've actually now come to a situation where the period of time is shorter. It is less than 1 year until 1 January 2012, and that restricts the amount of time for those changes to be made. And so actually the intent of the amendment made by the Select Committee has now been lost, and in fact the opposite is now the case. So there's absolutely no doubt that this clause, the commencement clause, does need to be amended, and in fact the only amendment that we have on the table in front of us is 1 January 2013. That seems to me to be a sensible amendment, bearing in mind, of course, that Labour is opposed to this bill, and we will be voting against it throughout. If the bill does go ahead, in order to make it actually workable, this amendment really does have to be made. The benefit of being on the 1st of January means that is a clear date where most universities these days still have summer schools, so the university and the student association will still be operating, but that is a time where things will be fairly quiet. It won't be during normal semester time, and it gives the universities and the student associations the opportunity to make that changeover on the 1st of January. So it's not going to come up at some arbitrary date, it's not going to come up midway through the year, but it does deliver on the intention that the Select Committee had to give student associations and tertiary institutes additional time, because there is a lot of work required from both organisations to make the adjustment to this this new regime. Not least are the service agreements around services such as health centres, the orientation, the events coordination work that goes on, probably for advocacy services. There's going to be a lot of negotiation required to ensure that advocacy services, even though they're probably being funded by the university, remain at arm's length from the university, and exactly how that all gets organised is going to take quite a lot of negotiation. There's also going to be the matter of costs. And the fact that the universities or polytechnics or PTEs will be increasing their students. Mr. Chair?
Ian Lees-Galloway.
Chair, that the institutes will be increasing their service levies, and no doubt that will take some time for the councils, the university and polytechnic councils, to make the decisions around what those service levies are going to be, and there's a range of other issues that really do need to be accounted for. There is I suspect some risk that the government needs to take into account, and that is the fact that student loans, the amount that's going to be borrowed against student loans, is going to have to increase because those service fees are going to be increased, and also there's potential for other fees to have to increase as well. So that will mean students will need to borrow more against those student loans, and that is lending that the government is going to have to ensure that it's in a good fiscal position to be able to actually lend that money. We know that the government is looking pretty hard at student loans at the moment. There is some consideration about reintroducing interest to student loans, and obviously the government sees those loans as something of a risk. The increased fees that will result from the changes that have to be made in that period between when this bill receives royal assent and when it actually commences are quite substantial. So not only will the universities, the polytechnics, the PTEs and the student associations have to figure out what it all means for them, the government, and I'd imagine quite a few ministries and departments are going to have to figure out what this means for them as well. There is quite a lot of work that needs to go on, and frankly trying to squeeze that all in before the 1st of January 2012 just isn't feasible. It simply is no longer feasible. The Minister says that she doesn't want to see student associations collapse. That is not the intention of that bill. As I have said, Labor questions that statement, but if that is the Minister's intention, then increasing the length of time between royal assent and the commencement of this bill makes a lot of sense. It just gives everybody a little bit more time to make the adjustment. I see Louise Upston having a bit of a smile and a laugh about that. Maybe. Okay. I see Louise Upston is having a bit of a smile about that, and obviously she's having a bit of The more the member wants to say on this, the better. We'll just debate it further. There is quite a lot of work that needs to go on, and it does need to be dealt with. And it is actually quite serious, because I think we are all trying to make this bill. It's a bad bill, but we're trying to make it functional. We're trying to make it actually work in a way that it doesn't absolutely obliterate student associations. And although personally I don't think this will make any difference for the student associations at polytechnics, it may just be enough to help the university polytechnics tread water. The current situation, where they would only have until the 1st of January 2012, doesn't allow for that at all. It actually means that a lot of things will be rushed. Probably some of those service agreements won't be exactly what they want them to be, and the universities won't have time to exactly figure out their fee structure either. So it's a pretty simple amendment. I don't think it's overly controversial. It actually comes back to the original intention of the Select Committee's change to allow the student associations more time. And Mr Chair, I would submit that this would be a pretty easy amendment for the government to support.